Welcome to the Boring Podcast. Tonight we'll calmly talk through something that happened, perhaps, or didn't. If this helps you drift off, we've done our job. Feel free to do nothing at all.
Yes, welcome. We're here, aren't we? Ready to delve into the mundane. Or maybe not delve, more like gently wade. Like wading into a very still, lukewarm pond. A pond with no ducks, no ripples, just stillness. And tonight, that stillness is brought to you by the fascinating, or perhaps not so fascinating, topic of packing tape. Specifically, how it sticks to things. Or perhaps how things stick to it. It's all the same, really, isn't it? We'll consider the question, at least.
Packing tape. Yes, that beige or sometimes clear, slightly shiny material. It comes on a roll, usually. A cardboard roll. Sometimes plastic. The roll sits there, waiting to be used. Waiting to be unfurled. It's quite remarkable when you think about it, or perhaps not. This unassuming roll, holding the potential to bind things together. Not permanently, of course, but temporarily. It's a temporary bond, but a bond nonetheless. Holding packages closed. Securing boxes. It's a common, everyday item, isn't it? And yet, there's a science to it. There is a reason why it sticks. And we're going to talk about that. Slowly.
The stickiness. Yes, the adhesion. That's the key word here. Adhesion. It's a word we often use without really thinking about it. Adhesion. It means sticking, essentially. One thing clinging to another. The tape clings to the cardboard. The cardboard clings to the tape. It's a mutual clinging. A reciprocal clinging, like two very unenthusiastic dancers, barely touching. Not really embracing, just sort of connected. Minimally connected. Just enough to be considered connected. That's adhesion. And that's what we're exploring tonight. Slowly, of course. Very slowly.
Think about the last time you used packing tape. You probably pulled out a length, maybe a short length, maybe a long length. It depends on what you were taping, of course. A small box requires less tape. A larger box requires more. It's proportional. The amount of tape, proportional to the size of the box. Or the item being taped. Not always a box. It could be something else entirely. Doesn't matter, really. The principle is the same. The tape sticks.
And it sticks rather well, doesn't it? Most of the time. Sometimes it doesn't stick as well. Perhaps the surface is dusty. Or damp. Dust and dampness are the enemies of good adhesion. They interfere with the connection. The clinging. They create a barrier. A thin, almost invisible barrier perhaps. But a barrier nonetheless. Obstructing the adhesion. Weakening the bond. Making the tape less sticky. Less effective. Less adhesive. Less. It's a subtle difference. But a difference nonetheless.
But let's assume, for the sake of this discussion, that the surface is clean. Dry. Optimal conditions for taping. Optimal conditions for adhesion. In these ideal conditions, the tape adheres quite effectively. It forms a bond. A temporary bond, but a bond nonetheless. And this bond, this adhesion, is what we're here to discuss. Or rather, to gently ponder. To slowly unravel. Like a roll of packing tape. Unrolling very, very slowly.
Unrolling in our minds. Unspooling almost. The concept of stickiness. The science of adhesion. It's quite remarkable when you think about it. Or perhaps not. And perhaps it's entirely unremarkable. It's all a matter of perspective, isn't it? And tonight, our perspective is one of gentle, meandering curiosity. A slow, quiet exploration of the mundane. The everyday magic, or perhaps not magic, of packing tape. And its ability to adhere. To stick. To cling.
So let's begin. At the beginning. With the basics. The fundamentals of adhesion. What makes something sticky? What makes packing tape, in particular, adhere to surfaces? It's a question we'll be exploring in great detail. Or perhaps not so great detail. We'll see. It depends. On many factors. Factors we'll discuss. Eventually. Less than / person 1 greater than. Less than person 1 greater than. So we were talking about packing tape. And how it sticks. It's quite fascinating. In a very unexciting sort of way. You see, you have this roll of tape. often a sort of brownish, clearish color. Sometimes it's on a plastic dispenser with a little serrated metal edge to cut it. Sometimes it's just a roll. And you unroll it and it sticks to things. Boxes, mostly. Or envelopes. Sometimes you even use it to repair things, temporarily of course. It's not exactly known for its strength, but it holds, for a bit. Then you can peel it off, or sometimes it rips. It's all very mundane.
Yes, the stickiness. It adheres, so to speak. It's like, imagine, if you will, a smooth surface. A cardboard box, perhaps. Brown, beige, sometimes even white. Rectangular. And then you take this strip of tape, and you press it against the cardboard. And it stays. It doesn't fall off. Remarkable, isn't it? Not really. But still, it's something. This is due to, well, the adhesive. The sticky part. It's on one side of the tape, obviously, not both sides, unless it's double-sided tape, which is a whole other topic for another incredibly uninteresting day. But we're talking single-sided tape today, the kind you use for, packing.
Right. The adhesive. It's almost like a thin layer of stickiness applied to the plastic, the shiny, smooth plastic of the tape. Sometimes it's a bit cloudy, the plastic, sometimes clear. But the adhesive, it's always sticky. And it's this stickiness that allows it to adhere, to bond, if you will, to other surfaces, like cardboard or paper, even sometimes to itself, which can be rather annoying when you're trying to unroll it. And it gets stuck together. We've all been there. It's a universal experience, the struggle with the sticky tape.
Indeed. The struggle. It's a very low-stakes struggle, of course. Not life or death, just a minor inconvenience. But still, a struggle nonetheless. And it's all because of the adhesive, this sticky substance. It's designed that way, of course. To stick. That's its purpose. To adhere. To bind. To hold things together. Temporarily, in most cases. It's not permanent, this stickiness. You can peel it off. Usually. Sometimes it leaves a residue. A sticky residue. Well, we'll talk about that later, perhaps. Or maybe not. It depends.
Yes, the residue. That's another aspect. A sticky remnant. A trace of the adhesive left behind. Sometimes it's easy to remove. Sometimes not. It depends on the surface. And the type of tape. There are many types of tape, Different strengths. Different adhesives. But we're focusing on packing tape, the standard, everyday, unremarkable packing tape. And its somewhat remarkable, yet entirely unremarkable, ability to stick.
Sticking. Adhering. Bonding. These are the words we're using today. Simple words. Describing a simple process. The application of a sticky substance to a surface. Resulting in a temporary bond. A temporary connection. Between two objects. Or sometimes, the same object, folded over on itself. Like when the tape gets stuck to itself. We've talked about that. It's a common occurrence. An everyday annoyance. In the world of packing. And unpacking. And sometimes, just general taping.
Taping. It's a verb. An action. The act of applying tape. To something. A box. An envelope. A ripped piece of paper, sometimes even to other pieces of tape. To reinforce, to strengthen. Although, as we've discussed, it's not particularly strong. Packing tape. It's more for containing. Holding things together, lightly. Temporarily, until it's removed. Or it rips, which it often does.
Ripping. Tearing, the opposite of sticking, the undoing of the adhesion, the breaking of the bond. It happens. It's inevitable. Nothing lasts forever. Not even the stickiness of packing tape. It's a temporary bond, a fleeting connection between two surfaces, brought together by a thin layer of adhesive, and then, just as easily, separated by the act of ripping, or tearing, or peeling.
Peeling. Another way to remove the tape. A slow, deliberate process. Sometimes smooth, sometimes not. Sometimes it comes off cleanly. Sometimes It leaves that residue, the sticky residue we talked about earlier. It's all part of the tape experience, the packing tape experience. An experience we're all familiar with, whether we realize it or not. It's a part of our lives. This simple, unremarkable, yet somehow essential, sticky strip of plastic, less than, person 1 greater than, less than, person 1 greater than. So as we were saying, or rather, as we may have implied earlier in this exploration of the, shall we say, sticky subject of packing tape, its ability to adhere, to cling, to attach itself to surfaces is really quite remarkable when you consider it for a moment, or perhaps for several moments. It's not something that one typically ponders in the hustle and bustle of daily life, this quiet force that holds boxes closed, secures packages, mends torn posters. Yet it's a force, a gentle yet persistent force that is ever present in our world of cardboard and paper, and sometimes plastic, and occasionally other materials too. It's worth noting, isn't it, this almost invisible helper in our modern existence?
Indeed, it is something to consider, this adhesion, this sticking power. We talked earlier about the adhesive, that slightly gummy, almost tacky substance on one side of the tape. It's what makes it stick, of course. Without the adhesive, it would just be a thin strip of plastic, wouldn't it? Just flapping in the breeze. Useless, really. But with the adhesive, it becomes something more. It becomes a tool, a fastener, a unifier of separate surfaces. And it's the properties of that adhesive, that sticky material, that we're exploring now, this almost magical substance that allows the tape to do its job. Its quiet, unassuming job of holding things together. It really is rather fascinating when you think about it. Or perhaps when you don't.
Yes, the adhesive. We talked about it, didn't we? It's that almost gooey, somewhat viscous material. Not quite liquid, not quite solid. It's somewhere in between, isn't it? A sort of in-between state of matter. That's what allows it to conform to the surface it's applied to. It flows, ever so slightly, into the microscopic crevices and bumps, filling in the tiny valleys and covering the minuscule hills. It sort of snuggles in, and that's what creates the bond, the adhesion. This conforming, this snuggling. It's a very close relationship, wouldn't you say, between the tape and the surface it adheres to?
A very close relationship indeed. An intimate connection, one might even say. The adhesive, as we've established, is key. It's this pliable, almost gummy substance that facilitates the bond. And this bond, this connection, is what allows us to use the tape for so many purposes. From sealing boxes to mending tears, the adhesive is the unsung hero of the packing tape world. It's the reason why the tape sticks, why it holds, why it performs its function with such quiet efficiency. A remarkable substance, really, when you consider its humble nature. Just a thin layer of a stickiness, yet so effective.
We touched upon the molecular level earlier, I believe, or perhaps we just thought about it. Either way, at that incredibly small scale, even smaller than you can imagine, even smaller than a very small thing, there are forces at play. These tiny forces, these almost imperceptible attractions between the molecules of the adhesive and the molecules of the surface create the bond. These are the forces of adhesion, the very forces we are discussing. These microscopic interactions create a macroscopic effect, the sticking of the tape. It's a fascinating interplay, wouldn't you agree, between the very small and the relatively large?
Fascinating indeed. This molecular dance, this intricate interplay of forces, is what gives the tape its remarkable ability to adhere. These tiny, almost invisible connections, working together, create a bond that is surprisingly strong. Strong enough to hold together boxes filled with heavy objects, strong enough to resist the pull of gravity, strong enough to perform its intended function day after day, without complaint, without fanfare, just quietly sticking, quietly holding. A silent partner in our daily lives. It really is quite something.
It is quite something. And it's all thanks to that adhesive, that sticky, almost gooey substance. We keep coming back to it, don't we? The adhesives. It's the star of the show, the main attraction, the reason why we're even having this conversation. It's the reason why the tape sticks, why it holds, why it does what it does. Without the adhesive, the tape would be just a thin strip of plastic, flapping in the breeze, utterly useless. But with the adhesive, it becomes something more. It becomes a tool, a fastener, a unifier. It becomes packing tape.
Yes, the adhesive. It's the key ingredient, the essential component, the very heart and soul of packing tape. We've explored its properties, its stickiness, its ability to conform and adhere. We've delved into the molecular level, examining the forces at play that create the bond, and we've considered its role in our daily lives, its quiet, unassuming function as a fastener, a unifier, a holder of things together. It's a remarkable substance, this adhesive, and it deserves our attention, our consideration, our appreciation, even if it is just packing tape.
So as we were saying, the tape, it sticks. And it's this sticking that we're exploring. Why does it stick? Well, there are these things called polymers, long chains of molecules, and they're all tangled up together. Like a bowl of spaghetti, only much smaller, and not spaghetti. More like very thin, clear spaghetti, if that makes sense. It probably doesn't, but that's okay. We're not in a rush. We're just thinking about tape. And polymers. And sometimes, I think about what I'm going to have for lunch tomorrow. Probably a sandwich. Or maybe leftovers. We'll see.
Yes, the polymers. They're crucial to the adhesion process. These long chains, as you described, they intermingle with the surface you're applying the tape to. It's like pushing your fingers into a shag carpet. Except your fingers are the polymers, and the shag carpet is the cardboard box, or whatever you're taping. And the fingers aren't really fingers, they're more like microscopic chains. Invisible chains. This carpet analogy is probably not helpful. I once had a shag carpet in my bedroom that was beige. A very uninteresting beige.
Right, it kind of weaves itself in. The tape, that is. Or rather, the adhesive on the tape. Because the tape itself is just a backing, a carrier for the adhesive, like a little boat carrying precious cargo of stickiness. Imagine a tiny boat, maybe made of plastic. Or paper, floating on a sea of glue. I suppose that wouldn't work very well in reality. But it's a nice thought. A very slow, calming thought. Like watching paint dry.
And the stickiness, the adhesion, it's not just about the polymers getting tangled. There are also these forces at play, these van der Waals forces. They're very weak, individually. But collectively, they create a significant bond. Like a group of ants lifting a crumb. Except the ants are the forces, and the crumb is the tape. And the ground is the box. It's a very complex interaction. Or maybe it's not. I sometimes wonder if we're overthinking this. Probably.
We probably are. But that's all right. Overthinking is what we do here. We take something simple, like tape, and we dissect it. We examine it from all angles. We ponder its existence. It's a bit like staring at a blank wall for a long time. You start to see things that aren't there. Or maybe they are there. It's hard to say. I once stared at a blank wall for an hour. It was surprisingly uneventful.
And the adhesive, it stays there. Unless you pull it off, of course. Then the polymers untangle, or break. It depends on the strength of the bond. And the type of adhesive. There are many different types of adhesive. Some are stronger than others. Some are designed for specific surfaces. Like glass, or metal, or plastic. I once tried to use packing tape to fix a broken ceramic mug. It didn't work.
It probably wouldn't. Ceramic is a tricky surface. Very smooth. Not much for the polymers to grab onto. Unlike cardboard, which is rough and porous. Like a sponge, except it's not a sponge. It's cardboard. Brown, usually. Sometimes white. I once saw a green cardboard box. It was quite unusual. I wonder where they sell green cardboard boxes.
Thinking about the different colors of cardboard is something. It's a thought. A very beige thought, if you will. Like the carpet I mentioned earlier. But back to the tape. The point is, it sticks. And it's this sticking that allows us to seal boxes, wrap presents, and do all sorts of other mundane tasks. Like repairing ripped book pages, or hanging posters, or securing loose cables. The possibilities are almost endless. Almost.
So we were talking about packing tape, and how it sticks to things. It's quite remarkable, when you consider it for a long while, how something so thin and seemingly insubstantial can hold things together. I mean, a thin strip of plastic. And yet it adheres. Adheres to cardboard, paper, other plastics sometimes. It's not like glue, which is thick and gooey. This is dry, and yet sticky. We've all encountered the slightly irritating peel of a new roll of packing tape, haven't we? That initial resistance. The slight tearing sound. Then the smooth unfurling. The way it clings to itself if you fold it over. It's a fascinating subject when you have nothing else to occupy your mind. We're not trying to be interesting, are we? No, not at all.
Right, the stickiness. The adhesion. It's a property, isn't it? A property of the tape. Something to do with, well, microscopic interactions. Tiny little things. Smaller than we can see. Interacting with the surface of whatever the tape is sticking to. Cardboard, as you said. Or plastic. Even glass, sometimes. It's due to the material the tape is made of, and the way it's manufactured. They make it sticky on purpose, of course, so it can stick. It wouldn't be much use otherwise, would it? Imagine non-sticky packing tape. Pointless. Utterly pointless. Just a thin strip of something. Not tape. Not packing tape, anyway.
Yes. Pointless. Utterly. Now, the way it adheres, it's not like a magnet, is it? Magnets have a sort of pull. A force. This is different. This is more of a clinging, a gentle sort of clinging, if the surface is smooth. More of a grabbing, perhaps, if the surface is rough, like cardboard. The texture of the cardboard plays a role, doesn't it? All those little fibers. The tape gets in between them, I suppose. Interlocks, almost. Not quite, but almost. It's all rather fascinating, in a very unexciting sort of way. We're exploring the mundane, aren't we? The everyday. The utterly ordinary.
Ordinary, yes. And yet, complex. When you break it down, it's all quite scientific, this adhesion. Forces at play. Molecular bonds, perhaps? Van der Waals forces, maybe. Can't quite recall. Something like that. Tiny forces between the molecules of the tape and the molecules of whatever it's sticking to. These forces are weak individually, but together they create a bond. A sticky bond. Enough to hold a box closed. Remarkable, really, when you think about it. Or perhaps not. Perhaps it's just tape. Doing what tape does.
It's just tape. Doing what it does. Sticking. Adhering. We use it every day, probably without even thinking about it. We wrap presents with it. We seal boxes. We repair torn things, sometimes. It's a useful tool, this sticky strip of plastic. And yet, we seldom consider the science behind it. The way it clings, the microscopic interactions, the forces at play. It's almost too much to think about, isn't it? All that, just for a bit of sticky plastic.
Too much indeed. And yet, here we are, thinking about it, discussing it, dissecting the very nature of packing tape adhesion. It's almost absurd. And yet, strangely soothing. The monotony of it all. The lack of any real consequence. We're just talking about tape. Plain, ordinary, packing tape. It sticks. It adheres. That's all there is to it, really. And yet, we can talk about it for hours. Days, even. Weeks, perhaps.
Weeks, yes. We could. We could talk about the subtle variations in stickiness between different brands of tape. The way temperature affects the adhesion, the different types of adhesives used. Acrylic, perhaps. Or some other kind of polymer. Long chains of molecules, tangled and intertwined, creating stickiness. It's all very technical, very scientific, and yet so very boring.
Boring, yes. That's the point, isn't it? The sheer boredom of it all. The utter lack of excitement. It's relaxing, in a way, to think about something so utterly mundane, so utterly inconsequential. Just tape. Sticking to things. It's a peaceful thought. A thought to drift off to sleep with. The gentle, quiet thought of packing tape.
So we were talking about packing tape and how it sticks to things. It's quite a fascinating process, if you think about it, or perhaps not. It's a kind of sticky, adhesive. It adheres. You press it against something, and it kind of stays there. That's what adhesive does. This stickiness, this adhesion, it's a property of the tape. A key property. It wouldn't be very useful tape if it didn't stick to things. Imagine trying to wrap a box with non-sticky tape. It just wouldn't work. It would fall right off. So this stickiness is important for the tape's function, the primary function, really.
Yes, that's right, the stickiness. The adhesion. It's due to the adhesive which is applied to the tape. They put it on there in a factory, I imagine. A big factory, probably, with lots of machines. And these machines apply the adhesive to the tape. Probably in long strips, Long, continuous strips of tape with adhesive applied to them. They probably roll it up onto those big cardboard tubes, you know the ones. They're brown. And they have a little hole in the middle. You put your finger in the hole to hold it while you unroll the tape. So yes, the adhesive is applied to the tape, making it sticky.
And the adhesive itself, it's a kind of goo, a sticky goo. It's not a liquid, not exactly. More like a very viscous substance. It has a certain tackiness. That's the best word for it, I think. Tacky. It's tacky to the touch. If you were to touch it, which I don't recommend, you'd find it's quite sticky. It would adhere to your finger. And then you'd have to peel it off, which can be quite satisfying, actually. Or maybe not. It depends on your perspective, I suppose.
The tackiness allows the tape to adhere to various surfaces. Cardboard, for instance. Or paper. Or plastic. Even metal in some cases. It's quite versatile. This stickiness, this adhesion, it allows us to secure packages, to seal boxes, to wrap presents. It's quite useful, really. Think about all the things you wouldn't be able to do without packing tape. You wouldn't be able to wrap that birthday present for your nephew, or mail that package to your aunt. It's quite essential when you think about it.
And the way it sticks, it's quite remarkable. You just press it against something, and it stays there. It adheres. It's as if it's glued on. Not with actual glue, of course, but it's a similar principle. It's a kind of molecular attraction. Something like that. I'm not a scientist, so I can't explain the precise details, but it has something to do with the molecules of the adhesive interacting with the molecules of the surface it's sticking to. Something about forces. Intermolecular forces.
These forces, they create a bond between the tape and the surface, a sticky bond, an adhesive bond. It holds the tape in place, securely, until you decide to remove it, of course. Then you have to peel it off, which can be quite a process, sometimes, especially if it's been on there for a long time. It can leave a residue, a sticky residue, which you then have to clean off.
And the residue, it's also sticky, just like the tape itself. It's the same goo, the same adhesive. It's just a thinner layer, spread out over the surface. It's like a sticky film, a thin, sticky film. You can rub it off with your finger, or you can use a solvent, something to dissolve the adhesive, like rubbing alcohol, or maybe nail polish remover. Something like that.
So yes, packing tape, it's sticky. Due to the adhesive, it adheres to things. It allows us to secure packages and seal boxes. It's quite useful, and quite sticky. We use it every day. Without even thinking about it, it's just there, ready to stick things together. A silent helper in our daily lives. A sticky, silent helper.
So as we were saying, or not saying, the stickiness, the adhesion, the way it clings, it's all about those little molecules, those tiny invisible particles that make up everything. And they're all just sort of hanging out there on the surface, waiting for something to connect to. It's like a very slow, very uneventful dance where partners are chosen based on, well, not much really, just proximity and a slight tendency to cling. I sometimes wonder about these things. Like, do the molecules get bored? Is there molecular boredom? Probably not. It's all just chemistry, isn't it?
Yes, chemistry. Those interactions, those forces between the atoms and molecules. It's a fundamental concept, something that governs everything around us, even the seemingly mundane act of packing tape adhering to a cardboard box. And the box itself, made of compressed fibers, each fiber a collection of molecules, all interacting with each other, holding their shape, resisting change, existing. It's all quite something, or perhaps not. It just is. We observe it, we experience it, and yet sometimes it's like we're not even noticing it at all. The world is full of these quiet processes, these subtle interactions, like dust settling or paint drying.
Dust settling, yes. The slow, almost imperceptible drift of tiny particles through the air, eventually landing on a surface, becoming part of a new layer of dust. It's a continuous process, a cycle of movement and stillness. Just like the packing tape, sticking and unsticking, being used, being discarded, it's a part of a larger system, a network of interactions that we barely register, yet are constantly surrounded by. It's all connected, in a way, or perhaps not. Perhaps it's all just random, I find myself thinking about these things sometimes, late at night.
Randomness, order, it's all a matter of perspective. We impose our own frameworks onto the world, trying to make sense of it, categorize it. The adhesive, the cardboard, even the air around them, it's all part of a complex system, a web of interconnectedness that extends far beyond our immediate perception. It's quite humbling, or perhaps not. Perhaps it's simply a fact. We categorize, we label, we try to understand. But sometimes, the best approach is simply to observe, to accept, to let it be. The tape sticks. The box holds. And that's that.
Yes, just letting it be. It's a peaceful thought, the idea of simply accepting things as they are, without needing to analyze or explain. Sometimes, the less we try to understand, the more I'm not sure. It's a vague notion, like trying to grasp smoke. The more you try to hold on to it, the more it slips away, and then you're left with nothing but the faint smell, a lingering reminder of something that was once there, but is now gone. A bit like the adhesive residue on your fingers after you've used packing tape.
Residue, a trace, a remnant. Everything leaves a mark, however faint. The pressure-sensitive adhesive leaves its residue, a sticky reminder of its presence. The cardboard box, even after it's been unpacked, retains the faint creases and indentations from the tape. These subtle imprints, these almost invisible traces, tell a story, in a way. A story of movement, of interaction, of existence. Or perhaps they tell no story at all. Perhaps they are simply there, existing, like everything else. It's all quite something.
Something, yes. That's a good word for it. Something. Not nothing, but not necessarily anything specific either. Just something. A vague, general term that encompasses everything and nothing at the same time. It's soothing, in a way, to think about it like that. Not trying to define or categorize, just accepting the vague, amorphous nature of something. The stickiness, the cardboard, the air, the residue. It's all just something, and that's okay. Or maybe it's not. Who knows?
Who knows indeed. It's all a mystery, in a way, or perhaps not. Perhaps it's just the way things are. The tape sticks, the box holds, and we exist. We observe, we experience, we try to make sense of it all. Or perhaps we don't. Perhaps we just drift along, like dust motes in a sunbeam, carried by unseen currents, eventually settling somewhere for a while. And then something else happens. Or perhaps it doesn't. It's all very uncertain. And somehow, that uncertainty can be comforting. Like the quiet hum of a refrigerator in the night.
The hum of a refrigerator. A constant, low-frequency drone that blends into the background, almost unnoticed, yet always present. A subtle reminder of the mundane machinery that keeps our modern lives functioning. A quiet, steady rhythm in the midst of something. Or nothing. It's hard to say, really. And maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe it's just the hum, and the tape, and the box, and the dust, and us. All just existing, together, in this something. Or nothing. It's late. Less than, / person 1 greater than. Less than, person 1 greater than. So, as we were saying, or perhaps not, the adhesion of packing tape, that beige or clear sticky strip we use for boxes and such, relies on, stickiness. This stickiness, mind you, isn't just some magical force. It's a result of, molecular attraction. Tiny, invisible forces pulling things together. It's like imagine a very, very small handshake, but between molecules. And these handshakes, so to speak, are numerous, creating a bond, a sticky bond, if you will. This is what makes the tape cling to the cardboard, the paper, or whatever surface you press it against. Quite fascinating, or not, depending on your perspective. I suppose we could talk more about the types of adhesives, but perhaps another time.
Yes, the stickiness, it's quite something, isn't it? This adhesive, this sticky substance, it's applied to the tape, this long, thin strip of plastic usually. Or sometimes paper, but mostly plastic. And this adhesive allows it to adhere, to stick to surfaces. We've all experienced it, this sticking. You press the tape down, and it stays. Remarkable, in a way, or perhaps not. It just is. It sticks. And it stays stuck. Until it doesn't, of course. Sometimes it loses its stickiness, but that's a topic for another day, perhaps. Or maybe not. We could just contemplate this stickiness, this adhesion, for a while longer. It's quite something to think about, or not think about, as the case may be.
Indeed, the staying power of the tape, its ability to remain adhered, is a testament to the strength of these molecular bonds, these tiny, invisible forces, working together, holding things in place. It's quite something to consider, or not consider, as you mentioned. One might even ponder the implications of this adhesion, its impact on our daily lives. How many boxes have been sealed with this sticky strip? How many packages have been secured? It's a question for the ages. Or perhaps just a fleeting thought.
Fleeting, yes, a fleeting thought, like the wind rustling through the trees, or the dust motes dancing in a sunbeam. Or not so fleeting, depending on one's level of engagement with the topic of adhesive tape. One could spend hours, days even, pondering the intricacies of its stickiness. Or one could simply use the tape, without a second thought. It's a choice we all face, consciously or unconsciously. To think or not to think, that is the question. Or perhaps not. Perhaps the question is simply, does the tape stick? And the answer, in most cases, is yes.
Yes, the tape sticks. A simple truth. A fundamental principle of the universe. Or perhaps just a minor observation. But within this simplicity lies a complex interplay of forces, molecular attractions and repulsions, chemical bonds and interactions. It's a world unto itself, this world of adhesion. A sticky world, one might say. And yet we often take it for granted, this stickiness, this ability of one thing to cling to another. We use the tape, we seal the box, we move on with our lives.
Moving on, yes, moving on, just like the slow, steady progression of time, or the gradual shifting of tectonic plates. We move on, from one thought to the next, from one task to another. And in this constant motion, we sometimes forget to appreciate the small things, the everyday miracles, like the stickiness of tape. It's a marvel, really, when you think about it. Or perhaps not. Perhaps it's just tape. Sticky tape. Doing what sticky tape does. Sticking.
Sticking. Yes, sticking. A simple word, yet so full of meaning. Or perhaps not. Perhaps it's just a word, a label we apply to this phenomenon of adhesion, this clinging, this holding fast. It's a fascinating concept, or perhaps not. Perhaps it's just sticky, and that's okay. Sometimes, things just are. They exist, they stick, they don't stick, and we move on. Or we don't.
We could talk about the different types of packing tape, the clear kind, the beige kind, the reinforced kind, the kind with the filaments, the kind without. But perhaps that's too much. Perhaps we should just let the concept of stickiness settle, permeate the silence, like a gentle, pervasive hum. Or not. Perhaps silence is enough. Perhaps the quiet contemplation of stickiness is sufficient. For now.
Thank you for joining us. Let go of the day, and drift softly into rest. There's nothing more to do. Nothing more to think about. Just this moment. Just your breath. Just peace. Sleep well.
Good night, and sweet dreams.